water. I don't know.
Sure.
You do have the creek in the backyard.
I do.
That's
I
not
do have
enough.
waterfront property. Thank you.
Waterfront property.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, Kyle. Like, I made a decision a while ago, like 2 weeks ago, that I was ready to change wardrobes and like be ready for like the fall.
Sure.
And I'm not going back. Like,
I respect the commitment to the bit, but dog, I'm in shorts and t-shirt. I'm
not outside all that often.
Uh,
I go from one place to the next, and I'm always inside. And then you come in here, and it's freezing cold.
The issue for me is the drive home. Like, I got to get in my car, and then it's hot. Like, as soon as I get in my car. And if I'm wearing a hoodie and then I got long pants, I was like, oh. And then it's miserable. I got to be in the car for 2 hours. No thanks.
I can just preset that when I get in the car, it's already 70 degrees.
All right, bro. Well, that's you. God. Oh, hey, just live by a man-made lake and just drive a Tesla.
That's right.
Jesus. Dude, gut-wrenching night of sports last night.
Yeah, tough. There's some
two losses that if I was a fan of either the Brewers or the Buccaneers, and God bless the few people out there who are fans of both. This is I'm not tuning into sports talk radio. I'm not listening to sports podcasts. I'm not turning on any television. No sports television. I am disassociating from sports for the day and maybe for the weekend. You can't even go on social media because if you're a Buccaneers fan, we'll start there with that Thursday night game.
Yeah.
If you're a Buccaneers fan, you can't even go on social media because it's, look at Kirk Cousins leading the swag surf. Here, Kirk Cousins has thrown for more yards last night than the Patriots have through 4 weeks. There have been 2 400-plus yard games this year. They both belong to Kirk Cousins. Like, it's just, you're just beat over the head with it. Shout out to Zabo in the YouTube chat. Buccaneers fan tuning into sports radio today. Salute, bro. You're a better person than me.
It's a tough look. I mean, Kirk Cousins is finding his groove with that team, and people around the league should be like, oh, because they have so much talent that if he does actually figure out how to, make a player like Kyle Pitts like functional, what he's done to Drake London, to Darnell Mooney, like all of a sudden that team is rolling. I don't know. It's an intriguing team, right? And
yes.
Overall, like this is what I want Thursday Night Football to look like that. I don't care who it is. Like, let's get some good games going. And for me, that was a fun game. We talked about it before, how much we wanted to watch that game. Yeah, I'm in. Like, that was both of those teams are legitimate teams. And I'm here for just good football on a Thursday night where you're not all stressed out about who is, like whether it's the Niners or not. But we did make the mistake. Me and my son, we made the mistake of not starting Mike Evans.
Tough. That's true. We said going into last night, hey, this is going to be a fun game.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun Thursday night game. And it delivered 66 points. But here's the deal, bro. It's not just that the Buccaneers lost in overtime. It is how they lost that if this was ESPN 1320 Tampa Bay, it's the type of loss that would have made me get on the radio and say, hey, is Todd Bowles the right coach for this team?
Oh,
is anything that was a absolute freaking disaster class. If you missed it, let's run through the play-by-play. Levante David, Buccaneers linebacker, intercepts a pass with Tampa Bay up by 3 as a 4th and 15 pass. Tampa Bay up by 3. He intercepts it. A minute 52 to go. Tampa Bay has the ball on Atlanta's 28-yard line. If they kneel it out 3 times, they're looking at like a 48-yard field goal, which not impossible in a dome, right? They proceed, and Atlanta has 3 timeouts. So worst case scenario, you're looking at, okay, kneel it 3 times. They burn their timeouts. We kick a field goal, and they have a minute-ish and no timeouts to have to go score a touchdown. The Buccaneers proceed to run a play that loses 3 yards. Then they get a holding penalty. And then they throw a pass that loses 2 yards. And then they run it up the middle for a yard. They end up punting. Back to the Falcons.
That's wild.
The Falcons go down. The Younghoe Koo hits the 52-yard field goal after a delay of game penalty, by the way, because the Falcons were busy celebrating that they got a long play to get into field goal range instead of like lining up, and they line up, they spike the ball, and then they all start celebrating. Meanwhile, the play clock's ticking, and there's no reason to reset it. So they end up taking delay a game. They have to move the field goal back 5 yards. Atlanta still hits the field goal, and then, of course, they win the toss in OT, and Kirk Cousins drives them down, and they score the game-winning touchdown in overtime. Just, I always harp on the overuse of the word inexcusable in sports. Inexcusable loss.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And the one good thing, Younghoe Koo, he that 5 yards, it gave me a 50-yard field goal, not a 40-something yard field goal. I got an extra point there in fantasy. Yes. So, for me, I was just sitting there watching the game, like, you're really gonna you're gonna let them tie this game up, like, and then in overtime, it's like, no one's gonna tackle that guy. You're just gonna let him run right up the middle and like, bye-bye now.
I just, oof.
Like, what in the world just happened? It was like they were so unprepared from like the minute whatever mark until the game was over a couple of minutes later. Like they had like 5 minutes of like
it was like they got the interception and thought the game was over, which so did I. Levante David makes that pick. I start doing other stuff. I feed my cats. I got to take out the garbage. I got to get ready to podcast. And then I come back downstairs a couple minutes later, and Atlanta has the ball and is driving.
Yeah.
And it's only a 3-point game. What? So I thought I had to go back and rewatch to find out that they didn't turn it over.
Yep.
But man, just an absolute freaking disaster for the Buccaneers. And then they also had the Bucky Irving fumble earlier in the game.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's just like, hey, the only thing you can't do in this situation is turn it over.
And then they went back to him. That's the one good thing I did see is that they said, okay, look, you fumbled. We're not going to hold it against you. And then he almost fumbled again. Like, it did not look good. At the second, I was like, okay, maybe you spend all week long, like doing, what was it, the program, right? Where the guy had to carry the football every day. Yeah. So like, maybe that's what you do.
Underrated film, the program.
Yeah, it was.
So a brutal loss for the Buccaneers. Before that, though, we had a game 3 in the National League wild card between the Milwaukee Brewers and the New York Mets in Milwaukee. 0-0 game. Just a phenomenal game. Just an outstanding baseball game. With some fun managerial decisions on, take out the starter after 5 innings because he's about to face the lineup for a third time, and should he do that or should he not? And just an excellent game. The Brewers get a leadoff home run in the 7th, followed up by another home run by a guy who hadn't hit a home run since May 15th.
Oh, wow.
So they're up 2-0, and you think, wow, Milwaukee's going to do it. They're cruising. In the 9th, leadoff walk for the Mets, then a strikeout. So you're 2 outs away, Milwaukee is, from punching their ticket to the National League Division Series. The next 2 batters go, is Brandon Nimmo, singles to center, runners at the corners, still 1 out, but okay. Pete Alonso at the plate, bang, bang, 3-run homer. 3-2 Mets. They punch another run across in the 9th, and Milwaukee ends up losing 4-2. And they lost 4-2. They get their leadoff runner on. Then there's an out. And there was a stolen base as well in there, I think. No, there was not. I'm sorry. So there's 1 out, runner on first, number 9 hitter up. On deck, Jackson Chourio, 20-year-old who is just on fire. The guy you want up in that situation with a chance to either tie or win the game. Number 9 batter grounds into a double play. Ball game over. Season over. If I was a Milwaukee Brewers fan, that is the kind of loss that never leaves me. That is a 2014 American League wild card game type of loss. That is a pick a Niners Super Bowl in the last 30 years type of loss.
I wonder if Kenny's already saying that it's a trophy, that a World Series championship for the Brewers just lost.
No, because the Brewers aren't the best team in the league, not by a long shot. I'm sure the Milwaukee version of Kenny Caraway is right there though.
Yeah. Somewhere out there's like, this was our time. This is
Uh,
our season.
Man, you go from the tension of 0-0 baseball, right?
Mhm.
Which is the best because every pitch, every hit, every stolen base, every error, every ball, every strike is like it ratchets the intensity up or down a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it's I love playoff baseball. And then you get the back-to-back homers from the two unlikely sources and you go, sigh of relief. Our bullpen's cruising. You're going to bring in Freddie Peralta to close the game. Oh my God, this is going to, it's all lining up. It's all lining up perfect.
I believe Freddie Peralta had not allowed a home run all season. I believe that's his stat I heard last night.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he had not allowed a home run all season long.
Oh my God.
And then Pete Alonso hits a Oppo laser beam.
The fact that he knew that was out is insane. The fact he knew off the bat, he hits it and immediately starts yelling. Like, that barely got over the wall, dog.
Yeah, but I mean, when you hit it that pure and you hit a line drive like that,
yeah,
that thing was shot.
That was smoked. So you're a Milwaukee fan. You're there. It's 2-0. You're cruising. You're thinking, all right, yeah, we're gonna win this. And then just to get deflated that quickly, I felt sick for every person in that building. Like, there are children there who just learned sports.
Yeah.
There are children there who just understand now.
Just sobbing.
Like, congratulations, you're a sports fan, kid. Get used to this. Because there's going to be 10 more of these before there's that moment of pure elation of a championship.
I'm trying to see who their closer was. I swear I saw that last night. Maybe I'm wrong that the guy hadn't given up.
Well, Freddie Peralta was the starter in game 1.
Okay, that's who was closing?
And he came in to close out the game, yeah.
Oh, well, he gave up a ton of home runs this year, 26. Yeah. I didn't know Frankie Montas is on that team.
Yeah, man, he started game 2.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah. Shout out Frankie Montas. Just a brutal... Again, this is one of those losses like that Bucks loss, where if you're a Brewers fan today, you're not tuning into sports radio. At least if you're the type of fan I am.
Mm-hmm.
You're not tuning into sports radio. You're not watching any you may not even watch the playoffs the rest of the way.
Oh no, I wouldn't.
Maybe you tap into the other series that don't involve the Mets, but
I'm kind of like, if my team isn't in the Major League Baseball playoffs, I kind of tune it out until the World Series, and then I usually get it back into it in the World Series. Like, okay, who do we got?
Yeah.
That's just kind of like when you get done with a 162 game season and you watched a lot of games and you're like, okay, I'm done. I don't need to watch other people who are more successful than my team. Like, I don't need to watch teams that didn't just trade half their team for a bag of peanuts at the trade deadline.
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like I was trying to think of the 3 worst losses for me. And I think the 2014 AL wildcard game is up there because I thought the A's had won that game.
Okay.
And remember that was the year that they traded away Yoenis Cespedes for John Lester at the deadline.
Yeah.
It was the beginning of the end of my last relationship, by the way. She was upset that I wasn't, because I had to leave her house, and she was upset that I was more bummed that Cespedes got traded than I was leaving her house.
Oh.
And she couldn't see past that.
Well, I could understand, like, the Cespedes trade. I remember
devastating.
I remember when Ricky got traded. Oh, there were tears.
Just devastating, dude.
Oh,
So they hadn't hit all the second half. Remember, they were the best team in the majors in the first half, and then the second half they were just terrible. And it was the Cespedes trade, sure, but Brandon Moss had stopped hitting. Brandon Moss just hit a wall in the second half of 2014. Mm-hmm. Well, in that wild card game, he cranks out 2 home runs. I'm like, the A's are so back. Not only are they going to win this game, they're going to the World Series. The A's are so back, baby. And then they lose the game. They didn't win the game at all. And I was just, that was brutal. Like I said, I was trying to go through.
Well, I've told you, I was there for the Jeter play.
I just, that one sticks with me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I was so young when that happened that the gravity of it didn't have a chance to really sink in. Like it stunk, but I was 11, 12.
Yeah, it was such a dramatic play at the plate.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wife and I had just incredible seats. We're we actually were lined up right with.
Uh,
We're behind home plate, maybe 3 sections over. So between a home plate and first base, but not way up the line. We're right there watching the play come through, and you thought it was over. I mean, that was wild.
Yeah, that was a brutal one for sure. The 49ers lost to the Giants in the 2011 NFC title game. It was January of 2012, but the 2011 season. That was the Kyle Williams fumble.
Ugh.
And that one, it was like watching it. I just thought the entire game is the first time I'd ever seen the Niners in an NFC title game.
Mm-hmm.
At least in my like adult life. And they have the what was his name? Ahmad Bradshaw. He like fumbles, but they called it forward progress when they probably shouldn't have. And then they had the first Kyle Williams fumble, and then you have the second one. And it was just, I thought they were going to win. The entire second half of that game, I was like, they're going to win. Their defense is just playing lights out. They're going to figure out a way to churn out some offense. And then they just didn't. And that one hurt.
Yeah.
That one, that was the first big like football loss that really stung.
Yeah, I mean,
the Super Bowl the next year.
Like in Kings fans all have their dramatic losses. I mean, it like the game 4, the Robert Ory shot, 2002 Western Conference Finals. That just gut wrenching.
I don't know how you. That's when. Like that comes down to like that's one play.
Yeah,
that's one that like they did everything you're supposed to do, and then one play goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame any. I know that there are Kings fans that like if you bring that up on Twitter, like they're just like blocked. See ya.
Oh yeah, they just can't.
I don't blame anyone a bit for that.
Yeah,
I remember I was when I was growing up. I was in middle school for that, and a ton of my friends were Kings fans at that point, and even down in the Bay Area because the Kings were freaking good.
Yeah, they were.
And
fun.
So watching that game with my friends, I just that was one of those moments that I'll never. I was at Aladino's Pizza. I was at Aladino's Pizza in Brentwood, watching that go down, and just even at that time was like, oh no, like oh that sucks big time.
Yeah, I went to a couple of games in that series, but I wasn't at that game. Yeah, just absolutely like gut wrenching. I mean, that was a championship team. That was the ring.
They are the thing that I don't want to say I like because obviously you would have way preferred to see the Kings win a title, but I do appreciate a thing I appreciate is that anytime a like, hey, all-time best teams did not win a title, comes up
right there.
Those Sacramento Kings are right there.
Yeah,
at like top of, in any sport.
Yeah, like top 3.
Everybody
top 4.
knows.
Yeah,
everybody knows. So that at least like, I know it doesn't help, but they still get that recognition of being a really damn good team who had one big shot go against them and then have a ridiculous no call in game 6.
Yep. Well, you know, the one thing about baseball too, when you're watching baseball playoffs, it's always a rando. It's always that guy that you're talking about hadn't hit a home run since May 15th.
Mm-hmm.
It's always that guy who wins. That's why I like personally, I think like the Giants were so successful for so long and won so many titles over the last, decade and a half. It's because they were filled with those rando dudes. Because they do a lot of platooning and stuff like that. It's not usually like we call what Reggie Jackson Mr. October, right? Like he was really good in the playoffs every year, but most superstar guys, there are a lot of them that just get pitched around or just they're not allowed to be the player that they are during the regular season, or they just don't perform well, right? And it's such a small sample size anyways, because you're talking about 30 at bats or 40 at bats through a playoff series, and if you get on a cold streak, you're totally cooked. Right. But for me, you're always looking around and saying, okay, who could be that guy? And that's typically what it is. It's like, it's not the superstars of the Yankees that come through in the clutch. It's some other guy that you didn't expect. I remember the Braves was
like Derek Jeter.
Well, I mean, of the talent of the Yankees, Derek Jeter was usually like the 6th best player for the most part. I mean, all the other $100 million players.
I don't want to get into a Derek Jeter conversation because anybody who likes the Yankees a little bit is not going to like my thoughts.
Yeah,
great player, Hall of Famer. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so like in the Amanda Lilly brings up Marco Scudero. It's like that. And didn't the Braves win their title with like, was it Francisco Cabrera or something, like someone like years ago? Like it was some random dude who comes up with a double down the left field line to win the game. And that's typically baseball. In the biggest moments, it's usually some
Edgar Renteria,
some guy, right, that just comes through with a big play and wins the game.
Yes, Marco Scudero for the Giants, and then remember Marco Scudero had the big double for the A's against the Twins in the 06 ALDS Game 3.
Yeah. It's always good to have guys like that who have got lucky here and there, or just, I mean,
Travis Ishikawa, another good one.
Yeah, you have the skill, but for sure, like the guys who come through in the clutch, it doesn't have to be your name brand guys, and that's why I like baseball, and that's why I always look at teams, and you look at a group of players, and if it's like, it's one of the problems the Yankees have, every position they have is like a superstar, and so you're like, okay, well, those guys aren't going to win it. It's going to be some other rando dude, and you guys don't have any rando dudes, or you're not playing them.
Yeah.
And that's where I think a lot of these teams come up big.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, tough night to be a Brewers or Buccaneers fan, and Godspeed to anybody who is a fan of both. You turned off that Brewers game and went, well, at least the Buccaneers are on. And then they get the interception. And you're going, well, okay, well, this is a good spot. Okay, this helps. And then, oof. Another thing that happened yesterday was some Kings training camp video came out.
Oh, yeah.
That low angle footage of the Kings 5-on-5 practice is exciting to see.
Yep.
Marta Rosen in the Kings uniform. He's moving around and he's kicking it out to Keon for 3. And it's like, man, yes. Running around a Domas screen. Like, yes, absolutely. Big time. Can we relax? I do the same thing with NFL training camp video.
Yep.
Just relax. I don't like. Can we see it in games? Can we see it even a preseason game? Just against a team that's not like Colby Jones and Isaiah Crawford and I don't even know who else is on the floor. Scal Labissiere, thank you.
Mason Jones,
G League guys.
Yeah.
Two-way and G League guys, or end of the bench. That's all. Before we start like freaking out about like this action and this, like, yeah, it's Isaiah Crawford chasing around DeMar DeRozan. That's not going to go well.
Yeah, I think what your point too is like, hey, let's not sit here and diagram the play that the Kings are running against these guys.
Right.
Yeah, let's not like, oh my gosh,
just relax.
Look, did you see that set? Was that horns? Was that, oh my gosh, did you see it? It's like, okay, man, first of all, it's training camp. It's like 3 days into training camp.
It's exciting. It is so exciting. I get it.
Yeah, basketball is back.
The Kings are about to be really good.
Yes.
So I totally get it. But it's the same deal. I'll never forget Baker Mayfield when Odell Beckham went to the Browns. The like first pass of training camp goes to Odell Beckham, and people are like, the connection is here. It's happening. Can we see it first in a game setting?
Yeah, a real game setting.
That's all. And then we can freak out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure let's just get there first. It's day 3 of training camp.
Yes.
Easy.
Hey, like get excited that you're getting to see some footage.
Yeah.
And be excited that you're seeing footage and you're seeing basketball being played. But let's not analyze the footage that we're seeing yet. I mean, come on.
I got to talk to Kenny about this. He's in here in about an hour and 20.
You think he's going to?
Oh, I already saw Kenny tweeting about it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, Kenny.
Yeah, no. Kenny and I are going to talk.
Yeah, so we people.
This is my favorite, like, inconsequential thing that annoys me.
Oh yeah.
Anyways.
So we had Colby Jones, we had Mason Jones, we had Scal, we had, was it Isaac Jones was on? Like I don't know.
Maybe
there was a lot of Joneses on the court.
So many Joneses.
But I think it's funny because it wasn't even like, first of all, Kevin Huerter, Trey Lyles, Jordan McLaughlin, and Devin Carter aren't allowed to play right now. And the entire summer, Malik Monk was not allowed to play 5-on-5 because of his knee injury at the end because Luka sat on him. So he wasn't able to play all summer. So he's getting back into shape, and not just like he's in great shape, but he's not in basketball, quote unquote, basketball shape. So they weren't even, again, that's not who you were up against. You're not up against the like second 10. Like Alex Len wasn't on the court. Like that, so either way, it's just fun to look at basketball and say, hey, look, we're excited. Basketball's back. let's just not break it down. Like, I do not want to see like someone chart.
I'm so ready. I love that stuff during the year.
Yeah.
When I see people breaking down, whether it's Kings or whoever, Mo DeKeel, we were talking about him earlier, does a ton of great film work on Twitter. I love that. Doesn't matter. It is such a fun. Low angle practice footage. Day 3 of training camp.
Get excited, everybody. Get excited.
Be excited.
Basketball's
Be excited,
back.
no doubt.
Basketball's
Let's
back.
wait for the film breakdown. Oh, hey. Wow. Look at the time. Fantasy Friday with Faraz Siddiqui. We are answering your fantasy football questions. We have some of our own, but we want to answer yours as well. So hit us up at youtube.com/ESPN1320. You can jump in the chat, drop your question there, or twitch.tv/ESPN1320. You can drop your question in there, and we will do our best to get to every single one. You guys crushed it last week. We had so many questions we couldn't even get to all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and start sending those in now, and we will get to those with Faraz Siddiqui. Let's win you a fantasy matchup this week in fantasy football with one of our very favorites, Faraz Siddiqui of Upper Hand Fantasy. He joins us next. That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're the Insiders. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. We're hanging out with you till noon on ESPN 1320 at Sacramento Sports Center. Clear. Okay, a couple things. One, it's not even, dude, it's not Kings fans. It's everybody. It's 49er fans. It's Giants fans talking about spring training. This is preseason. It's training camp.
Yeah.
It's cool to be excited. I just don't need a full breakdown of what's happening.
And what do you guys got? Start throwing your questions in the chat for fantasy football. Oh.
Also, I saw somebody in here say Brentwood isn't the Bay. I guess technically, but it's in the 9-county Bay Area, so I just don't. What else do I? It's kind of a little bit east of the Bay. Like it's. No,
I grew up in the foothills. That's how
I just
like
say.
we describe
just
it.
say it's a. Just say the Bay Area. It's in the 9-county Bay Area. I
Yeah.
don't know what. People are weird about that though. I went to college with somebody who's like, if you're not in San Francisco or Oakland, you're not in the Bay Area.
Oh wow.
Like okay.
What about Marin?
Not in the Bay Area.
What?
Not
what
San
about
Francisco.
San Rafael?
Not in the Bay Area.
What?
Not San Francisco. Not Oakland. Hard and fast rule. Boom.
Oh my gosh.
And especially when I lived in Arizona, do you know how many times I had to tell people I'm from San Francisco when I lived in Arizona?
Oh no.
I am not from San Francisco.
No.
But I'm just like, yeah, I'm from a town called Brentwood. And they're like, oh, where's that? And I'm like east of Oakland, 45 minutes east of
Have you ever met someone who was born and raised in San Francisco who's not like super pretentious?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Because most people that I know that like were born and raised in San Francisco, there's like something about like
there's different there's different cultures and areas you can grow up, I'm sure, but no, I know people from San Francisco who don't suck.
Okay.
And then the other thing I saw was somebody said it takes them 45 minutes to get from Sacramento to Antioch. One, that is mobbing. Two, it takes me 2 hours, A, because we're in Roseville. B, there's a ton of construction going on 160. I usually hit some of that. There's a little traffic getting out of Roseville. There's a little traffic getting from 80 to 5. So I just wind up. It's probably closer to like an hour 45 or an hour 50, but you just wind up.
They've been doing a lot of construction on 49, so I keep getting hung up. Oh, my wife just hit me up. She said
mobs when he drives. Go ahead.
She said she's putting in a Costco order, and Costco sold out of toilet paper because everyone's
freaked out about the
that's already over.
That ended.
And toilet paper is made here in America. It's not getting brought in it's through the docks. What are we doing, people? Stop buying all the toilet paper. Weird. I have to install bidets all over my house.
That's the thing. Hey, where's for us?
Well, that's a good question.
Uh-oh.
You did send him the link?
Okay, here we go.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
Stop buying all of the toilet paper, you weirdos. I understand it's a necessity. I totally get it. But when you go to Costco, Do you know how long a Costco-sized thing of toilet paper should last you?
Yeah.
Unless you have something going on.
Even if a family of 4.
Which, that's fine. Okay, if you got stuff you're doing, okay, that's one thing. But, oh my God, there's a longshoreman strike. I need to go buy every piece of toilet paper in existence. Strike's over. I'm sorry, not over. Suspended.
Suspended.
They're going to renegotiate after they're going to continue negotiations after the election. They have agreed to a 60-something% wage increase over the next
6 years.
6 years. And then there's other things they want to work out, but they're going to wait till after the election to do that.
Of course.
The toilet paper's back, y'all.
Stop buying all the toilet paper at Costco.
What do you think would happen? Let's say I was one of those people that's like, I need to go get all the toilet paper.
Oh.
And I go get 8 things of Costco-sized TP. Do you think if right now I was like, oh, dang, I didn't need all this, can I take it back to Costco? Can I return unwrapped toilet paper to Costco?
That's a good question.
Because honestly, here's a weird thing about me that I just learned as I thought about this and talked it out. I don't think I would want to buy that.
Somebody else's return toilet paper.
Yeah, if you James, and this is you, I know you, right? If you went, yeah, hey, in fact, you know what? Here, if you went, yeah, you know what? Hey, we bought too much toilet paper. I'm going to take this back to Costco. And then I go to Costco and they go, oh yeah, hey, James returned this earlier. Do you want to buy it? I'd be like, absolutely not.
No.
I don't want that. I want fresh TP that has not been taken home to send. Even though it's in the rat, if they hadn't told me, I wouldn't know. But just knowing that, I'm out.
My favorite.
I know that's weird. That's a weird thing for me.
My favorite is I know someone that during the pandemic, they bulked up and they bought so much. And I didn't know they were kind of a survivalist. And we go into his basement and he has like a whole wall of toilet paper. And then I looked and I'm like, okay, first of all, that's a lot of toilet paper. So I don't know what you plan on doing.
There is so much TP.
But the other problem is, look, man, if you're going to load up and have all that toilet paper, hey, Faraz Siddiqui's here. If you're going to load up and have all that toilet paper, please don't buy the junky stuff because now you're stuck with it. You know what I'm saying?
100%, man. Don't buy the junky stuff.
You know what I'm saying?
I judge, dude, do you know how harshly I judge a restaurant? I'm sorry, we'll get to fantasy football. Faraz Siddiqui here from Upper Hand Fantasy. Faraz, we can cut that in post if you don't want Upper Hand Fantasy associated with what I'm about to say. I'll judge a restaurant or a person's home based on their TP.
Oh, heck yeah.
Like if I go to a spot,
oh yeah,
and the toilet paper is that like one ply like sandpaper.
Oh,
I'm out on that place.
When we were traveling,
how good the fillet is.
When we were traveling in Europe, I had built an entire stand-up routine that if I were ever to do stand-up, it would be about the crappy toilet paper in Europe and why they're so angry is because of the toilet paper.
I can't wait to hear this set, but we're going to have to put that on pause because it's time for Fantasy Friday for Faraz Siddiqui, Upper Hand Fantasy, upperhandfantasy.com. You can follow him on Instagram at Upper Hand Fantasy. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing well, and I totally agree. I've lost friends over TP before, and I'm 100% with you.
Wow. Love that. Love that we're all on the same TP page. Hopefully we can get on the same page with fantasy football this week to get us a couple of W's. Not to brag for us, but James and I are running a team together here for the Odyssey Sacramento League. 2-2, but second highest scoring team in the league right now. So
Not
really
bad.
proud of us.
Not bad. It seems like you guys have the upper hand.
Oh, look at that.
Really good joke.
Bravo for us.
It was right there.
It was.
I want to start locally here before we get to our listener questions. And again, if you want to send those in, youtube.com/ESPN1320, twitch.tv/ESPN1320, jump in the chat, drop your question, and we will do our best to get to it. Do you just have to keep starting Brandon Aiyuk?
I think so.
You just got to keep him in there and hope that the breakout happens?
Yeah. We talked about this before. There's so many weapons on this 49ers offense that it's one of those things where he's not going to get the ball every time. Listen, he had 75 catches last year or whatever it was for 1,400 yards almost. That wasn't sustainable. His yards per catch wasn't his career anywhere near his career average. And yeah, you just have to keep starting him because the ball is going to find him. Here's the thing. Brandon Aiyuk is separating better than almost every other receiver in the NFL right now. He is doing his job. He is playing at an extremely high level, at an elite level. He deserves every cent of his contract. The ball isn't just going in his direction right now. Brock Purdy is playing really, really good football right now, and the ball is going to find him. And we just have to wait. I do have him a little down in my rankings. Like I have him as a low end wide receiver too, because of the fact that George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, these guys are going to also get the ball. So, but yes, I do think in most circumstances he'll be in my lineup.
Faraz, we're looking at the Texans as like one of the highest powered offenses. They haven't really got it going yet, but they also have this weird backfield situation. Where are you going with that backfield this week? And is it worth even going out and combing the waiver wire and seeing if Cam Akers is available and throwing him in your lineup this week?
Cam Akers, he seemed like a good start last week. He seemed like a good start the week before. The problem is that he's barely involved in the receiving game, and the Texans offense is just straight up saying that, hey, we don't care about running the ball, when Joe Mixon's not playing, so yes, it is a decent matchup, and the Bills are a little bit short-handed in terms of trying to stop the run. So I think he's a flex play, more so a desperate one if you really need somebody. But plugging him in as my RB2, unless my guys are on bye, and I'm extremely desperate there. That's the only reason why I would go there. I think Darryl Ogunbowale is their passing down back, and when he's on the field, like he's gonna potentially get some receptions. And they also they elevated JJ Taylor last week. He's probably going to play again. He stole some carries away from Akers too. So it turned from a 2-man backfield to a, little bit of a 3-man, with JJ playing a little bit too. So I'm hope if you have to, it is what it is. It's not easy to find a running back on the waiver wire.
Talking fantasy football with Faraz Siddiqui, answering your questions, of course, at youtube.com/ESPN1320 and twitch.tv/ESPN1320. Upperhandfantasy.com is the website. We learned last.
I'm so sorry. Can I just mention one thing? And I think this will help people. Kind of back to your question, James. Antonio Gibson, is somebody you can potentially pick up off the waiver wire. You have Alexander Madison as well. Zamir White has an injury. Also, Devin Singletary, he's banged up as well. He might not play. So I would highly suggest picking up Tyrone Tracy, the dynamic rookie who's been playing behind him. So just wanted to mention a couple of waiver wire running backs who could be available before we move on. I'm sorry. Please go ahead, Kyle.
No, it's perfect. We're going to ask you that exact question later on. So that's good foresight by you. We learned technically last week that Christian McCaffrey is now dealing with bilateral Achilles tendonitis, or he has been. Does that change your stance on when you buy or when you sell, or do you have any hard opinions on what to do with Christian McCaffrey?
Not much changes for me. I don't think the team was unaware of this information. The doctors were unaware of this information. This is information that they've had and they've dealt with this entire time. So it's new for us. Right. But it's not. I don't think it's new for them at all. I think they're dealing with it the same way. Apparently, he's dealing with. He's kind of has that issue more so on one side than the other. I am not. Again, to kind of what my stance is right now, it's if I have Jordan Mason, I'm enjoying the production, but there is an impending return of Christian McCaffrey this year. When that is, who knows? Maybe week 8, maybe week 9, but it's going to happen at some point. If I can get a high-end RB2 for Jordan Mason right now, that Joe Mixon, he's hurt right now, so maybe it won't trade for him. But Josh Jacobs, James Cook, let's see, all of those guys, Aaron Jones, the guys in that range. If I could get one of those guys for Jordan Mason at some point, I would do that. This week he has an absolutely amazing matchup against the Cardinals. So you're so tempted to play him, but keep in mind that the more games you give him away with, the more you can get back. Okay. The further you get along, the less you can get back. Okay. So I only want to get back something awesome. I won't be, selling him for pennies because Christian McCaffrey is going to return. I do think eventually though, he does return, and Jordan Mason's value obviously will plummet.
For us here with the Mason situation, because I think a lot of people who have McCaffrey don't have Mason. Like that's how we are in our league. But we've done something where, again, if you have IR spots, is there someone out there like Nick Chubb or who's the running back for the young running back that's
Jonathan Brooks.
Yeah, Jonathan Brooks. Is there someone that you should be maybe stashing, or a running back who, again, this last week, Swift blew up and got a 20-point week, but is there someone that you should be chasing like that you could stash and say, okay, when Mason peters out midway through the season, is there another back that maybe can carry me the final 6-8 weeks of the season?
Yeah, actually, that's a really good call out. I do like that. I don't think DeAndre Swift is going to be that guy. Like, if I have DeAndre Swift, I would probably try to trade him away right now. After that big blow up game, I don't think that it's going to be something that continues. I don't trust that offense at all right now, and I don't trust DeAndre Swift. We've seen this story with Swift before, and I wouldn't do that. I think Devon Achane is somebody who I would be going after right now. All signs are pointing to Tua coming back, in a few weeks. And when he does, that offense is going to get back on track. So Devon Achane right now, he's going to be on a lot of benches this week, right? And he's somebody that you could potentially trade for, somebody on, somebody who is planning on being benched for the next couple weeks. And, that is not going to hurt that team's roster, right, over the next couple of weeks. So you can take him off other people's benches, and then you can give somebody else a starting player for Devon Achane. And then by the time Jordan Mason's out, you potentially have a high-end RB1 on your hands in Achane. So he's my number one target for anybody who wants a running back who you can start later on, in the season.
Talking with Faraz Siddiqui on a Fantasy Friday. Upper Hand Fantasy is a podcast. You can find that wherever you get your pods. I'm going to jump into some listener questions here. Our guy Jared Brown wants to know Kareem Hunt or Trey Sermon. What a wild sentence.
I know, right? Seriously. I'm probably going to go Kareem Hunt. This is definitely close. The head coach did come out and say that this is going to be a running back by committee this week in Indy, which is not what you want to hear when you picked up Trey Sermon off the waiver wire and expecting him to be the guy. I personally, like, if I had to put a real number on it, I would guess Trey Sermon plays like 65% of the snaps in this one, at least. He was already getting the passing down work with Jonathan Taylor on the field and in the game. So I would expect him getting a solid amount of work on early downs, and then getting some work in the passing game. But Kareem Hunt, after what he showed last week, he looked decent enough. And now, like, he seems like he could be the guy. We'll see. It's a shaky backfield right now, in my opinion. But he has a chance to cement himself as the guy moving forward.
For us, I'm going to stay there with the Chiefs because Patrick Mahomes has just been, so far, he hasn't been good. He actually, to be honest with you, he's been a bad game manager. Like, for the first 4 weeks, they keep winning, and it's hiding the fact that he just hasn't played well at all. Number one, what do you do if you're a Patrick Mahomes guy like myself? And number two, what do you do next week when he's on bye and you don't even have the decision? Is there a quarterback out there that you think is maybe a little undervalued for next week that would make sense?
Yeah, I'm selling Patrick Mahomes. Any chance I get. He hasn't been a top 12 quarterback since week 10 of last year, and it's not going to get any better. Without he has Travis Kelce, or what's left of Travis Kelce, and Rashee Rice is going to be out for the foreseeable future. I don't see a scenario where Patrick Mahomes, the way he's playing right now, where he bounces back to become anywhere close to a top 6, 7, 8 fantasy quarterback. So I am willing to move him. Go get, if you're looking for like an undervalued quarterback, I'm thinking maybe Geno Smith can be somebody like that. He's on pace to throw for 5,000 yards this year. He's the only quarterback to do that. Maybe, well, even with Kirk Cousins' 500-yard game last year, I still don't think he's on pace. But I do think that Geno Smith is somebody in a pass-first offense right now. Joe Burrow is another one who could end up being a high-end quarterback this week. His team is pass-first. He's going to end up being he's going up against a pass funnel defense as well. You want to pass it against the Ravens, not run it. So Joe Burrow is somebody, who he's averaging, top 5 quarterback numbers when he's healthy, when both T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are in the lineup. So I personally, he's a high-end quarterback that I'll be going after. So yeah, I'm selling Patrick Mahomes wherever I can, man. He's just not a good fantasy quarterback right now.
Faraz Siddiqui, Upper Hand Fantasy. Let's stick in the quarterback realm for now. Are we trusting Anthony Richardson? It sounds like Joe Flacco might start this week. Are we riding with Sam Darnold?
It does look like that. He got the first. Joe Flacco's getting the most first team reps today in practice for the Colts. So the expectation is that Flacco will get the start. Which if you have Michael Pittman or Josh Downs, you're like, okay, here we go. Now we're talking. But I would trust Richardson in terms of like his long-term upside. Coming into the year on a per dropback basis, he had the highest fantasy points per dropback last year. Coming into this year, a similar thing early on, and then he had a bad couple of games last week before he got hurt. Guess what? Number 1 in the NFL among quarterbacks in fantasy points per dropback before he ended up leaving the game. He looked relatively good before he left, passing the ball to Michael Pittman a couple times, once to Josh Downs. But this week, obviously if Richardson's out, I'm going Sam Darnold. If Richardson plays, guess what? I'm going Richardson. Sam Darnold going up against the Jets this week. A little bit of a tough matchup. I still trust Sam and I trust that offense and that head coach. But I think I might go Richardson if he starts, which I doubt he will.
I think we're going to have a t-shirt made said, I trust Sam for us, Siddiqui.
It's tough, man. It's tough for me. It's so tough. It's such a bittersweet thing. Like, I'm going to be watching this game, the Jets and Vikings, on Sunday morning, and I am going to be rooting for both teams. Like, I'm going to be rooting for Sam because I feel bad for what the Jets did to his career.
Okay.
And I'm rooting for the Jets too.
Okay.
So
let's
Salute to you. What a guy.
Let's get to this question from Jared Brown. He's got to start 2. He's got Wicks, Brian Thomas Jr., A-Chain, or McLaurin in a full PPR league.
Find a way to get Dontavian Wicks in your lineup this week, guys. I don't care how you do it.
Bet.
I don't care who you got to bench. Find a way. Out of these 4, though, I'm going Wicks and Brian Thomas Jr.
Oh,
Big Brian Thomas Jr. guy.
Oh yeah.
Love that.
This week in particular, such a good matchup against another team that goes single high a ton. Both these guys are just, I love them this week. Love them.
All right, need some help with a trade from our guy P Dub. I think this is an old meme. I don't think P Dub is an actual baby per his profile picture here. If you are a baby, wow. Should he trade Jordan Addison and Joe Mixon for Bucky Irving, Jordan Mason, and Mark Andrews?
I don't think so. I think Joe Mixon's going to be back at some point. Jordan Addison, hopefully he will be back at some point. Hopefully he didn't re-aggravate anything. If you need wins right now, I can understand it, but you won't be able to play Bucky this week. Jordan Mason, yeah, he's going to get it done for you for the next several weeks. So if you're like 1-3, 0-4 going into this week, I'm cool with this. You know what I'm saying? Get Jordan Mason. He's going to help you get some dubs, over the next couple weeks. So I'm totally with this. I'm with this deal if you need it. Now, if you're winning, I don't think I would do this deal because Mark Andrews, he's cooked, right? Well, not him, but his fantasy value is. He looks really good, actually, when you watch him run. But Jordan Mason's that guy. I think Jordan Addison, he came in last week and just started to, he was in the game plan fully. So, I would do it if you're losing. If not, don't do it.
All right, let's get to this question from Wilson. He's got Smith and Jigma, Aiyuk, or Garrett for 3 spots.
I would play all of them if it's 3 spots. I would.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Like, well, you got 3 spots. Why don't you just play them all?
I'll rank them. Okay, I'll rank them. Fine. I'm gonna go with Garrett, Aiyuk, JSN. That's how I would play it.
Oh, okay. Kyle, what do you got?
Garrett, is that Garrett Wilson?
I'm thinking Garrett Wilson.
I'm assuming it is. It's like Garrett Wilson. Yeah, man. Is this where we're at?
I was trying to think because last name, and then last name. I'm trying to. Miles Garrett is the only Garrett.
Oh, okay, I got you.
I can think of.
You shouldn't
maybe it's
start
a weird
Miles
wide receiver,
Garrett.
individual defensive player flex spot. Okay, so you said Garrett, Aiyuk, JSN.
Yes, that's how I'm rolling.
You mentioned Devin Singletary earlier. Devin Singletary or Javonte Williams? Sounds like Javonte if Singletary might be out, right?
Yeah, I got to go Javonte. Even if Singletary plays, I don't know how limited he's going to be, and Tracy's dynamic. I would go Javonte this week.
Cool. We've got let's see, from West Sac Kings fan, Rashid Shaheed or Juwan Jennings in my flex spot.
I would go Shaheed here pretty easily. Jennings got it done last week, and he bless you if you have him. He bless you with another solid week in the game log. I would go and sell him right now if you can. Otherwise, he's going to probably turn to dead weight on your roster. Assuming that Debo, Aiyuk, Kittle all stay healthy, CMC coming back at some point, earning targets too. Shaheed he's a buy for me, even though he's been doing his thing because he is running routes. Not like a deep player. He's running routes like an actual wide receiver, big boy routes. He's running crossers, he's running ins and digs. He's doing it all. And obviously he has that deep threat ability too. So he has a very high target share this year, and I'm sticking with him. He's an every week wide receiver too right now.
Is it the week 3 where he was just a total bust that has made people a little gun shy on him?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what it was. But still 25% target share in that game. So I'm not. It's one of those things where it's like you look at the utilization, it was there. It was just an unfortunate result.
Let's stick in the wide receiver realm. We just talked about Rashid Shaheed, but Loki Trickster wants to know Rashid Shaheed or T. Higgins for their flex. And then also, should he sell Garrett Wilson for pennies?
Good question. Shaheed is pretty close, but I do have Higgins higher in my rankings. Higgins has out-targeted Jamar Chase over the last 2 games. He had more air yards. He has more end zone targets. Joe Burrow's looking for him over the past 2 games. His expected fantasy points is about 100% higher than his actual fantasy points over the last 2 weeks, which means that there is a correction coming. So Higgins against the Baltimore defense, who've been giving up a ton of fantasy points to perimeter wide receivers over the first 4 weeks of the season. Higgins is somebody I love this week. So unfortunately, you have to bench Shaheed for him, but I'm going Higgins. And then as far as Garrett Wilson, I'm not selling him right now, guys. Coming into last week, he had a 30% target share. The conditions last week were terrible. His matchups have been brutal. Now, I will say, I don't want to make excuses for Garrett, right? Like, at the end of the day, if you are an elite wide receiver close to it, in over a 4-week sample size of having bad matchups, you have to come through at least once or twice, right? This upcoming week here, going up against Brian Flores, a defense that notoriously takes away the number 1 wide receiver. So another tough matchup for him. They shut down, but they limited Nico Collins. They limited Malik Neighbors, and there was another wide receiver who they also limited. I forgot who it was, but it's not great. So I wouldn't be surprised if he has another week. But listen, he is getting an elite target share. He's Aaron Rodgers' guy for now, until Devonta Adams gets there. But I would not be selling Garrett right now, and I would hold steady, and I would not necessarily panic just yet. He can come through at some point.
Let's stay there with that just real quick. If you're a fantasy owner and you're looking at, do you think Devonta Adams is going to go to the Jets? And what do you think that will do for Rodgers' value, for Breece Holmes, for Garrett Wilson? Breece Hall, sorry.
I think so. For Rodgers, obviously it would be great, right? Because he has 2 bona fide wide receivers. Right now, Garrett Wilson's getting all of the attention, right? And I do think this would actually help Garrett, even for fantasy. The target share will come down a little bit, but this will likely be a top-heavy target distribution between Devonta, him, and Breece Hall. And I like it because the offense will get better. More scoring opportunities. You pick your poison type of thing. Like, look at last week, Jamar Chase. He got a lot of attention. T. Higgins was just gobbling up targets. He had 10+ targets last week. So similar type of situation. I do think he might be more dependable. Maybe his ceiling goes down just a little bit, but in terms of like higher floor, I definitely think that's in the cards for Garrett Wilson. Devonta Adams, we'll see. Is he the same player? I have my concerns just because if you look at the numbers in terms of his separation data, it's not amazing for over the first 3 weeks of the season. So before he got hurt. So we'll see if that sticks. If it's just a matter of him, not trying because he doesn't care to be in Vegas, that's a very likely possibility as well.
Gonna rapid fire these because we got 2 minutes. Last 4 here. Should our guy Filthy McNasty, who drives very fast, it turns out, should he trade Cortland Sutton?
Yes.
All right, get rid of Cortland Sutton. Johnny G has an unsexy question for you. Cole Kmet or Zach Ertz at tight end?
Probably go with Kmet here. Ertz is just safer, but Kmet.
Tyreek Hill or Chase Brown in the flex?
Oh my goodness. I'm going Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. It's so hard to put a guy like that on your bench.
I like Chase Brown too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Last
Tough
one. Bengals running back or Ramondre Stevenson?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Vermondre this week.
All right, very good. That's all the questions we have. Well, that's not all the questions we have. It's all the questions we have time for. For us, you're the very best. Thank you so much. Visit upperhandfantasy.com for the very best fantasy info. Of course, he answers our questions here, but there's plenty more answers at upperhandfantasy.com and on the Upper Hand Fantasy podcast, wherever you get your pods. For us, thanks, man. Talk to you next week.
100%. Appreciate you guys. Talk soon.
Hopefully, Devontae Adams is a Jet by that time.
That's right.
Let's
Fingers
go.
crossed. We're rooting for you.
See you guys.
See you for us. There he goes. For us, Sadiki, upperhandfantasy.com. That's, I think, my favorite segment of the week.
Oh yeah,
It's
man.
so much fun.
It is so much fun.
Should we just start answering people's questions? If
Sure.
any? Is Wan'Dale Robinson a must start with neighbors out? Yes.
Oh,
If you're in PPR, yeah. Wan'Dale Robinson is one of the highest scoring PPR players because it's neighbors. If he's covered up, all right, he's throwing it to Wan'Dale. That's all I got.
All right. Do we have any others? I'm sure there are.
I don't see any that I'm not going to go scroll through and find. If you're going to scroll through and find them,
what you should do with Devontae Adams is I would just sit him or go pitch him to the guy who has Aaron Rodgers or a Jets fan in the league.
yeah,
because
I don't think he's playing this week, so you don't have to like start him.
Nope.
Yeah.
Let's see. Bengals RB or
We got that one already.
oh yeah, we did. Okay.
Raiders or Patriots defense? Ugh.
We don't ask those questions.
Who do the Pats play? They play a not good offense.
Yeah.
Because we thought about picking up their defense in fantasy.
Yeah, we did. They're
Cleveland?
playing Miami.
Oh, Miami. Oh.
Ooh, yes. That's where I would go.
Are you sure? The Raiders play Denver.
Yeah, but Denver, they're not as bad as we thought they would be.
Their offense stinks.
Yeah.
Their defense is sick.
Yeah.
But their offense is not very good.
I get that.
I don't know. I have a hard time trusting Vegas.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. They're about as hit and miss as you can possibly get. I mean, and it's
not
funny.
That the Patriots are good. That's a tough spot.
The Raiders and Niners are both 2-2, and
yeah,
I don't think there's one team you trust, one team you wouldn't. I think we have to go to break.
I got it. Josh Downs. Yeah, I would start Josh Downs, especially if Joe Flacco is going to play.
Okay.
And then Wicks or Kareem Hunt. I'd start Wicks.
Yeah, Wicks is where I would go to. The Chiefs just really their offense is not flowing at all right now, and it's possible the Kareem Hunt gets like a 2 or 3 touchdown week, but I don't know. Let's turn back the clock.
Yeah. All right, we'll have more on NFL Week 4. We're gonna move away from the fantasy stuff. It's always sprinkled into our conversations, but we got Niners Cardinals this weekend. The Raiders in a prime spot to get above 500. We'll talk about all that next on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. All right, we're back.
Interesting, Tyler. I did not see this. That Adams tweeted a picture of Edgar Allan Poe and asked if he is a Raven. I did not mean to do that.
Did we have the discussion on here that I didn't know that Edgar Allan Poe was an American dude?
Oh, no.
Had no idea.
Okay.
My entire life, I thought he was an English-ass dude.
Okay.
Turns out he's not. I didn't know the Ravens were called the Ravens because of Edgar Allan Poe.
No. I didn't know that that's why they're called the Ravens.
Yeah, had no idea.
Okay.
Their mascot, turns out, it's called Poe.
Oh.
Didn't know.
Okay.
Learned this all last year.
All right. Now I'm learning something. I did know that Edgar Allan Poe was.
Had no clue. Zero
Yeah.
clue.
Uh-oh. Oh, he actually posted a picture of Edgar Allan Poe. Interesting.
Yeah, we watched 10:30. What was we watched some movie about, it was like a fictional movie about Edgar Allan Poe being at West Point. And then we watched that Follow the House of Usher
Mm-hmm.
on Netflix. So I did a little Edgar Allan Poe deep dive on Wiki.
Yeah. No, I'm a Poe fan. Taking short stories classes and stuff in college.
If I was a professional athlete and there were like trade rumors about me, I would tweet the wildest shit.
Yes, just like nonstop, just like random things that make people think
Yes.
that you might be going somewhere.
I would just, you would have no idea.
Me and a friend took a short story class years ago, and
Here we go.
Oh, we're back.
Hour number 2, one of my very favorite things is going on right now on social media. That's James Ham, I'm Kyle Madsen. We're the Insider, sponsored by Jiffy Lube. We're hanging out with you until noon, then we'll hand it off to D-Lo and KC, and they will take you into the weekend right up to 4 o'clock right here on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. We have happenings in the Davante Adams trade saga. Davante Adams posted on his Instagram story a photo of Edgar Allan Poe. Of course, Edgar Allan Poe. I don't think he's from Baltimore, but he died in Baltimore. He's buried in Baltimore. The Ravens are called the Ravens because of Edgar Allan Poe's poem, The Raven. I think their mascot is named Poe. Or there might be 3 mascots and their names are Edgar Allan and Poe. Something like that. I don't know. So now the speculation is that Davante Adams will either go to or wants to go to the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I honestly think we should just do dramatic readings of the Raven here for the next 3 minutes.
Go on.
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary, over many quaint and curious volumes of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping. I'm not going to keep reading, but that's okay.
Pause. If I was an athlete and there were trade rumors about me,
Yeah.
or if I was bored, catch me doing this all the time. I would eyeball emojis, just a random fire emoji. Here's a picture of Teddy Roosevelt. Like just anything I could think of to make people take a screenshot and post it like, ooh, what does this all mean?
I think it would be awesome if you were a NFL player and you just posted like random pictures. So like horses running. And then everyone's like, oh no, is he? And maybe a bird watcher.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. But horses is like, is he going to the Broncos? Is he going to the Colts? Like, where is he going? And then birds is like, oh
God.
It could be the Falcons or the Eagles or the Ravens. Just like mess with people. That's I think
1,000% what I would do.
That would be spectacular.
Yeah. That would be. You started to tell a story at the break and then I had to cut you off. What story were you going to tell?
Oh,
about being in a creative writing class.
I took I think it was an intro to short stories, and we had a professor, which I'm assuming he's probably no longer with us because he wasn't very young then. He called himself a trained reader, and we would go to a college course, and he would dramatically read all of the short stories. So we sat there like Bartleby the Scribner or the Raven, and we would just sit there for 45 minutes, whatever the class time was, and he would just dramatically read the short story of the week. And that's what our class was. We're like,
did you have to write about it? Was there a test?
There were some tests or something, but it was all very short. And we just sat there like, okay, this is weird.
This dude wanted to have a personal talent show.
Exactly. Every day.
But there's nowhere to do this because you can't go to an open mic and take up an hour.
Or like the library was like, look, man, the 6-year-olds don't want to hear Bartleby the Scribner. Like, no.
So my man became a college professor just so he could force a bunch of college students to sit in front of him for 45 minutes while he did his dramatic readings.
Exactly. Bill Howarth. Shout out to Bill Howarth, wherever you are.
Hell yeah, Bill.
Yeah.
I kind of respect it.
We had a good time with it. We just would sit there and like, you know.
Dude, bring some popcorn,
Yeah,
bring something
like,
to drink.
Looking at each other like, what is happening here?
Absolutely, dude.
Every single class. And it wasn't like one of those things where it's like, hey, I want you to read and we'll just go around the circle. Everyone read a paragraph and then the next person take up. No, I've had that too, but like this was
like popcorn reading. No.
No, that's it. That wasn't great. This was just him. Like he had a little John Clayton ponytail. And he would just sit there. And
of course he did. Why wouldn't he? Did he wear a vest? He probably wore a vest.
He wore shirts that were very tight, like across the chest. Like it was
bow tie.
It was an awkward class. No, it wasn't a bow tie thing. It was more like Ren Fair-esque, like dramatic readings.
Oof.
Yeah. Rip Van Winkle. Like I can hear his voice in my head still. Rip Van Winkle.
I made the mistake of making a joke on the internet.
Oh no.
Made a bunch of Ravens fans angry. So
today?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute.
Oh, Kyle.
So our guy, my guy Kevin Ostricher, who Ostriker, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, posted that, took a screenshot of the Devontae Adams Instagram story. Said Devontae Adams posted a picture of Edgar Allan Poe on his Instagram story. A Ravens sign? And I said, what makes you think that? And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 responses from people letting me know what's happening here.
That's amazing.
Also, nobody cares about this, but whatever. My Twitter bio says commentator, not journalist.
Oh.
That is a line from the homie Nate Goodyear. Salute. But somebody said, maybe because The Raven, written by Edgar Allan Poe, which the team is based off of. You're a journalist? No, I'm literally not. I'm literally not a journalist. I do not claim to be.
That's funny.
Anyways, I can't wait to respond to all of these people and make fun of them for not understanding a very obvious joke. Anyways, Devontae Adams, his trade saga goes on. Whether the Raiders deal him or not is TBD, but he's out with a hamstring injury. He's not going to play this week. And we will continue to monitor that situation. 49ers Cardinals tomorrow. I want to get to the 49ers and the Raiders here. This is a massive game for the 49ers. And I think that's just going to kind of continue to be the case because they need to show something, some kind of signs of life of a team that's a Super Bowl contender and not a team that is going to lose a close game to a bad Rams team and then get beat by the Vikings in Minnesota. They can't fall further behind in the NFC West. George Kittle and Fred Warner both didn't practice Wednesday and Thursday, although it sounds like they might play. That's question number 1 for me. I think they can figure it out without George Kittle because the Cardinals defense stinks. If you remove their production from the game where they beat the Rams, where they just got to pin their ears back and go the whole game because they were up 21-0 in the first quarter.
Yep.
They have like no defensive production at all. Not a good defense. But I don't know that the 49ers can win a game if Fred Warner's not playing.
Oh, I would agree with you. I don't know how they do without him. I mean, that team relies on him for the dramatic play, the game-changing, momentum-changing moment of every single important moment this season has basically hinged on Fred Warner doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know how that they can, especially with Kyler Murray back there. Like, how are you going to stop him if like some of their linebackers, they just can't move.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not like fluid through the hips. They're not guys who can chase a player like that. And so what are you going to do unless you're going to go small and give some of your young safeties an extra opportunity to like basically tag him, just follow Kyler the whole game.
Mhm.
If not, I don't know how you handle that.
Yeah, I don't know how I don't know how they played. Like Devondre Campbell can't survive in this game. So
No.
maybe it's D Winters, the second-year linebacker. Maybe it is Malik Mustafa, the rookie safety, playing as a third safety. I don't know. I'm really interested to see how they go about this because the Cardinals' offensive line isn't great, but it's significantly better than New England's. So I don't think the Niners are just going to be able to get after the quarterback like they did against New England. And Kyler's superpower is that escapability, getting outside the pocket, and then turning what should have been a sack. How many times have you watched Kyler Murray and gone, wow, he should have been sacked 3 times, and instead there's a 65-yard touchdown?
Yeah.
It feels like it happens once a game. So that's the man. That has nothing to do with Fred Warner, really. You mentioned everything with the linebacking core. If you don't have Warner's athleticism in the second level, you're either playing a super young player or Devondre Campbell who can't move well enough to keep up in a game like that. So I have big time concerns about the Niners defense this week.
They did bring back the linebacker from the 2023 draft, right? That had left.
Jalen Graham.
Yeah. So I mean, like, look, I'm willing to give him a shot. I'm willing to give a couple of guys a shot here, but it doesn't, like, without Fred Warner. I mean, he is so incredibly impactful. I think right now he is a top tier, like, defensive player of the year candidate.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't know where he ends up. The 49ers need to win more games in order to for him to be that player. But what he's done just to keep them in games and to make them as where they are right now, the 2-2 is a lot because of him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. I think they can't survive without Kittle, especially if Debo's back. Jennings again. I would like to see Jennings run some of those tight end sets. Like, why not? The guy's huge. Like, run him out there in the patterns if you need to. Like, I just don't. I don't really need to see what's the backup.
Eric Saubert.
I don't need to see Saubert going in the pass route.
Yeah, this is just there's nothing off the table for me for the 49ers if Warner and Kittle are out.
Yeah.
Like that's just those are two players who are so unique in what they do on their respective sides of the ball. And the Niners have so many weapons offensively. If George Kittle's out, you can figure it out. You can survive that.
Mm-hmm.
We saw in the Rams game, their offense was not a problem. And George Kittle and Deebo Samuel missed that game. Offense, not a problem. But defensively, I just don't know. I don't know what they do without Fred Warner. We gave a bunch of suggestions, but none of those combinations of players we mentioned are gonna be good enough.
No.
So
yeah, intriguing.
What do you think about Kyler Murray? Where do you land on Kyler as a player?
I don't know. It's really tough because he's got all the talent. He just doesn't. He clearly doesn't have the size. But he's entertaining to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like there's too many times where his focus isn't where it has to be for an NFL quarterback. And like, again, he's made his money and all that stuff. I think he would have been a great baseball player.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly think that, if I were starting a franchise, he would be really, really, really low on my list of who I'm starting a team with.
Why?
I just don't know that. I don't know that you can build the team around him and have it be that highly successful. I think right now, like, it's okay to get through this portion of who the Cardinals are, and like, just figure out, like, this is who they are for a couple of seasons. But I don't think he's the guy that leads you out of anything. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, I'm okay with him. But again, like, where would you put him in the pantheon of NFC West quarterbacks right now? He's the 4th best quarterback. I'm taking Brock Purdy over him. I'm taking Matthew Stafford over him, and I'm taking Geno Smith right now over him. I don't know, and that's just NFC West. So
I'd be interested to see what he looks like, because he's playing at what I think is a high level this year in his second year back from the torn ACL. I'm stuck on the NFC West thing because I'm of the mind that Kyler individually is a better player than what he's gotten to show in Arizona as they kind of go through this weird rebuild.
Yeah.
And I think in the right spot, he could be really, really excellent. And he's the type of player, whether he's as good as Matthew Stafford or Geno Smith or Brock Purdy, that's inconsequential. Where I land on Kyler is he terrifies me. When the 49ers face the Cardinals, I think the Cardinals are going to have a shot to score a lot of points because Kyler's our quarterback. He just does so. He is unique in the way he moves around the pocket and out of the pocket. When he runs, he's just really hard to get on the ground. His athleticism is just different, and he's obviously such a compact build that he's just hard to get on the ground. And that's why maybe if you're doing just a ranking, he's in the middle of the pack. But man, there's not that many quarterbacks that with 2 minutes left in a tie game, there's not that many quarterbacks I would not want to. Kyler Murray's way up there in the dudes I don't want to face in that spot.
I mean, that's an interesting way to think of it. I'm not sure that I have the same faith in him. And again, I think when you add Marvin Harrison Jr., you're giving him like something elite, a guy on the perimeter that maybe can change things for him. They had Hopkins there. I mean, they've had other wide receivers there, but this is a different, you're giving him an opportunity to throw to somebody who has like all the talent in the world. And I think that so far, like he missed some throws early, but now we're starting to see that sort of grouping change and like how good Marvin Harrison is. I want to see when teams focus and try to take away him, Marvin Harrison, what Kyler does, because he doesn't progress well. Like he does, like, yeah, he's got elite running skills. He can move around the pocket all over the place, but I also feel like there are so many times where he's doing too much of that and not enough looking downfield and figuring out what the actual play should have been. And everything feels like improv. And at some point, he's got to be able to learn what it is to run an offense truly and give it a shot to work, as opposed to just improving about, half the time. And maybe I'm wrong. I mean, again, he's incredibly athletic. He, like what you say, he's very tough to get down.
He's got all the arm talent. Like that's where I don't know enough about the Cardinals to know what their offensive structure is supposed to be and what he plays within and what he doesn't. I just know that when he gets outside the pocket and he sets his feet and winds up to throw, I am terrified.
Yeah.
916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. That's the Elk Grove Kia Talk line. And host of the Chatty House After Party, Don, is joining us now. What's up, Don?
What's up, guys? Hey, so I don't want to be doom and gloom, right?
Please.
I'm a big Bears fan, so obviously I've had a lot of doom and gloom. But I've watched this season of the Niners from the get-go with some worry in the back of my mind. This happens a lot in the history of the NFL, where there's teams that are built for that championship for a bunch of years. And then there's that 1 year where everything doesn't go right. It doesn't mean that they weren't, prepared for it, but like you have the injuries, Warner possibly being out this week, and there's been other guys. And every time I see stuff like that with them, even though it's like little things here and there, like in the back of my head, I'm like, man, has that window, like, are they going to have to really re-up after this season? Because this is just like a domino effect of little things that happen that cause a season to go spiraling.
Yeah, no doubt. Thanks for the call, Manny. Appreciate you. I am right there with Manny. It's not doom and gloom. It's not. So I wouldn't even classify his call as that. It's just if you're mapping out this season and you're just putting together a bullet point list of things that like, hey, here's what's gone right, here's what's gone wrong. The list of things that's gone wrong is just so much longer than the list of things that have gone right. And it's only week 5. So maybe, there's time. Maybe they get healthy and maybe they go make a run and everything's fine. And we're sitting here talking about the Niners in the Super Bowl going into February. Like, yeah, maybe, like, for sure. But also, when you're realistically looking at it like Manny's talking about, I don't know how you look at all the things that have gone poorly this year and go, oh yeah, no, everything's fine. Like, it's objectively not. Maybe it will be, but But right now, it feels like they're teetering a little bit.
I can see that point of view. I can also look at this team and say that okay, so you have NBA teams, right? They go out and they win like 60 games, and then they get to the playoffs and they burn out, right? Even like the 70-73 win Warriors team didn't win a title, right? And they learned that what it takes to be that good for 82 games is not what it takes to win a title. And so I think the 49ers are dealing with adversity and some of the self-made adversity that they had through training camp. They're still dealing with the residuals of that. We're still seeing Brandon Aiyuk not at 100%. We're still seeing Trent Williams have great games and then a subpar game here and there where, certainly not what we're used to seeing from him. You're seeing McCaffrey who's out. You're seeing Debo miss and Kittle miss. And like all of these things are kind of sitting there. But I also look at them like the first 4, 5, 6 games of this NFL season is almost like preseason for this team. Their goal is not anything that's happening right now. Their goal is to make sure that they've situated themselves that when they get to a certain point in the schedule that they can take off and start being the team that they're going to be in the playoffs. And so that's where I'm at with this team. Sure, could they have more catastrophic injuries that set them back and like tailspin their entire season? Yeah, like if Brock Purdy goes down, like they could be done for this season for sure, right? If Trent Williams goes down, and their season could be over for sure. But at the same time, I kind of look at this as a team that's like slow playing the season a little bit and getting everything right because nothing is right so far. And you're again waiting for McCaffrey to get ready to get back. You're waiting for Aiyuk to figure out, his chemistry, and all of these things, they will come. But for right now, the sense of urgency isn't there because
that's a problem.
Well, it is a problem, but it's also, maybe it's not because they've been here before. They understand what the assignment is. They know that, yeah, they can't withstand another like big swoon in the season where they lose 3 in a row. But they look at the schedule. They know what their sort of the game plan is moving forward. And they're like, okay, we can get this win. We can get to 11, 12 wins and it won't be a big deal. And then what you've done is you set yourself up where you're going to have to go through Detroit or through Minnesota, which is not a good thing in the playoffs. But there's still time for them to recover and still time for them to be a number 1 seed. It's just not going to be easy. But they're also a team that understands what it is to go on the road. They're a team that understands.
I get all that, but they didn't lose to Minnesota because they were going, hey, you know what? We can drop this one. Look at our schedule. We can lose this one. They didn't lose to the Rams because they went, hey, we're up 10 in the 4th. Hey, we can trick this one. It's all good. Division game, we're fine. Like, no, that's not like they're losing these games because of injury issues.
Yep.
They don't have Javon Hargrave coming back. Christian McCaffrey, I'll harp on this until the day he returns, but like, I'm not banking on Christian McCaffrey being back, and that's not even their problem. Like offensively, they're cool right now. They're fine.
Yep.
A little different than it's been in the past, but they've been. It's not like they're not moving the ball and scoring. But defensively, they've had some injury problems. They got to figure out their third cornerback spot. I don't know if their safeties are good. Like they have real issues to figure out. And maybe they do. Maybe they do look at this Cardinals game and the ensuing game in Seattle on Thursday night and go, all right, we got to lock in. And maybe we see the Niners hit a different level. Maybe they hit that level they typically hit in November and December. Maybe they hit it now, and all of a sudden they rip off 8 straight wins. But for me, there's no evidence. Nothing has happened this year that makes me think, oh yeah, no, they're just sleepwalking. They're going to flip the switch eventually.
Yeah, I think my rebuttal to that would be like, look, first of all, the interior defensive line is an issue, and they have to actually go out and get somebody.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
But outside of that, like Hufanga will be better in week 6 and week 8, barring a massive injury setback. The other young guys around him will also continue to get better. The defensive backs that we're talking about, they will continue to get better because that's kind of how, they're figuring out the ropes. They're trying to gel as a unit and all that stuff. I also think that the Winners and who's the other linebacker they just signed. Like those guys are going to be better as we get through the season. And then there's always a potential for Dre Greenlaw to come back and actually, solidify the middle of that defense. So there's a lot of things that are happening, but I also feel like just the general flow of the team hasn't been great. And whatever major issues they have, I think the only thing that they have to address is the interior defensive line. And that's due to the number one, they were shorthanded coming into the season, but number two, they had the big injury happen. Right. Outside of that, I think that they're just a team that's growing and they're not worried about the growth of the team today because they're looking at it as a 17-game season that all they have to do is hit this benchmark and get into the playoffs. And then when they're in the playoffs, they have the experience, they have the talent that they can beat anyone.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's there's huge stretch of games here with Arizona, Seattle, Kansas City, and then Dallas going into the bye week. If they have not figured it out by the bye week, I'm going to have some pretty major concerns. All right, we got mad props to get to, and I saw this ridiculous stat that I genuinely could not believe it when I read it. We'll tell you what it is next. He's James. I'm Kyle. We're the Insider, sponsored by Jiffy Lube here on ESPN 1320 and Sacramento Sports Leader.
What do we got? So they've got Arizona. They've got at Seattle, Kansas City, Dallas. And then they have 4 really tough games coming out of the bye.
Yeah.
What's going on? Oh, there's some really good spots in Sonoma. Yeah, Spencer, there'll be a pod this weekend, most likely. Yeah, we got training camp and all that stuff. Miles, training camp is at 1:00 today. I will be there. And then I will race back because we have a big event here at the studio today. Yeah, Scooter, this is a good question for Kyle. Kyle, what is Greenlaw's status? Is there any update after the
literally no. Kyle Shanahan said he didn't have an update.
Okay. Yeah, that's one of those. I mean, usually it's a full year, and he got hurt in the Super Bowl. I don't know if we're gonna have watch parties. That's a good question, Russ Dog. Kings away games. We'll work on stuff. Again, we have a big thing here at the studio today, which eats up a lot of the brain power of everyone around us. And then after this, that's when things kind of get rolling. Oh, boy, this is a heck of a game, Kyle. This Boston-Denver game. Oh, I didn't get to hear what happened last week with the mad props. What? Oh, hell yeah. I didn't hear Kata scream. Why was Kata screaming? Securing a Bagley. This is such good training right here. 7.9 seconds remaining. Denver's up 104. Boston 103. It would make sense that Jesse would come in and we'd watch his team lose just because of the way the Dolphins season's gone this season.
Great point.
They're really good.
I felt like I was watching the Olympics because Jason Tatum isn't playing.
I guess.
Am I right?
I guess. Luck to your guys' teams next year.
I guess Jaylen Brown has looked awfully swole. Is that what everyone's saying?
What's up, Chatty House?
What else is going on here? Oh yeah, there's Jaylen Brown. He did look.
Celtics are taking this super serious right now.
Yeah.
They're locked. They're dialed.
Uh-oh.
They're taking this super serious. This is like a late season game against the Kings.
He tagged me. Oh, man. Oh, clock ticking down.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
It's Friday. It's 10:30. Excuse me.
11:30.
Re-rack that. We'll fix it in post. 3, 2, and 1. It's Friday. It's 11:30. So you know what time it is. I said, so you know what time it is.
I know what time it is.
It's time for Mad Props. 2 games, 2 props. Which
We'll
number
figure
will
this
be
out
higher?
someday.
That's for Kyle and James to decide. Here's Mad Props.
Got to wait a little bit for the Kings, but we're still going to do this with the 49ers and Raiders, trying to mix things up. I might pick a different game next week
That
than
sounds fire.
than
Sounds
the
like a good
Raiders.
idea.
Like I might just mix it up, go full NFL or something.
Well, it's tough. It's like, oh yeah, the Raiders gonna have more than 30 rushing yards or something else. Like, come on.
Yeah, right. So I'm trying to mix it up a little bit. So we'll see how this goes this week. First one, James. I've got and again, I make up these props and we got to pick which one's going to be higher. Brock Purdy passing yards or Raiders total yards.
Brock Purdy passing yards.
Brock Purdy averaging 282.5 passing yards per game this season. The Raiders averaging 288.8 yards per game this season.
Yeah, I'll go Brock Purdy passing yards in that one. I think it's gonna be a high scoring game.
Yeah, I'm going to go right there as well. The Broncos defense is very good, and the Cardinals defense is not very
The Raiders
good.
just have Brock Bowers.
Shout out to the Brocs.
Troy Myers is good too, I guess.
Jacoby Myers, good player. Trey Turner, don't sleep on him. 49ers, Cardinals, Jesse, this one's for you. 49ers, Cardinals, total points, or Jacoby Myers, receiving yards. No Devontae Adams this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
10 targets for Jacoby Myers last week.
I'm gonna go Jacoby Myers. I think it's gonna be a high scoring game with the Cardinals and 49ers, but someone's gotta get those targets in Las Vegas.
So give them to me again.
We've got Jacoby Myers receiving yards or 49ers, Cardinals, total points.
I'm going to go Jacoby Myers.
Okay, just for the sake of being different, I'll go 49ers, Cardinals total because I think that we're going to get like 60 plus points in this game.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be
I think we'll get 60
lot of
plus points,
offense.
but it'll be like Jacoby Myers have like 75 yards receiving or something like that.
Yeah, a lot of offense, I think, at Levi Stadium on
Okay.
Sunday. James, 49ers punts against the Cardinals defense or Raiders sacks against the Broncos.
I'm going Raiders sacks against a rookie quarterback.
Jesse?
49ers punts or Raiders sacks?
Yes.
I'm going to go Raiders sacks. I don't think the 49ers will punt much in this game.
I am going, I'm putting the number at like 2.5 for both. Yeah, I'm gonna rock with you guys on this. I'm gonna follow and go with Vegas. Yeah, I think the Niners probably punt it like twice.
Yeah.
If they're not punting, it's because they're turning it over. Is what I think is gonna happen. Jordan Mason touches. This is for Jesse. Jordan Mason touches. So it's receptions and carries, or Raiders total points.
Oh, Jordan Mason touches.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to go
That's
Raiders
easy, I
total
think.
points.
Really?
I am.
Yeah, at some point, like they're gonna stop giving Jordan Mason 25 touches a game.
See, I disagree. I said we go 25 at least here.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the number I got, 24, 25. And I don't know that a lot of teams in general are going to score 24 plus on the Broncos the rest of the way, much less a Raiders team without Devontae Adams. So I'm going Jordan Mason.
You might be right, but I'm sticking with the Raiders.
I love that. Love that for you. James, Nick Bosa pressures. Well, according to Pro Football Focus. Pro Football Focus pressure measurement.
Okay.
Or Brock Bowers targets.
Ooh. I'm going to go Brock Bowers.
Okay. Jesse?
Yeah, I'll go Brock Bowers on this one too.
Yeah, I'm going to as well. Bosa had a ton of pressures last week, and I think he got credit for 7. Bowers is the kind of guy who should get 8+ targets a game right now.
Yeah.
Last one. Kyler Murray rushing yards, Jesse, or Bo Nix pass attempts.
Oh, Kyler Murray rushing yards. Yeah, give me that one easy. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
James.
I'm gonna go the same. Yeah, I don't want to.
I can see Kyler going for like 40 yards rushing at least.
Yeah, I would agree. He might even get a little more than that.
Yeah. Bo Nix is throwing the ball 40 times. We're in trouble.
I want to pick something because I feel like we've gone the same on
A lot.
1, 2, 3 of them already. So for the sake of the bit, I'm going to go Bo Nix pass attempts.
Oh,
Niners going to keep Kyler Murray in the pocket, bottle him up.
Big
They
Bo
always
Nix
have
guy, I guess.
They always have a good plan for him. Bo Nix will put it in the air 28, 30 times.
What is Bo Nix? Do we like him? Is he just there?
I think Bo Nix is just there.
I think he's okay. Like, I think he'll be an NFL quarterback. Like, I think he'll be a starter for like 4 years. I think he'll be in the league for like 8, 12. Yeah, I don't know. I like some of the early returns from him.
I'm out.
Yeah, I think I'm out too. They're winning games, but I don't know how much of that has to do with just their defense. They can't run the ball at all. Just frustrating.
Yeah, but he's kind of a gamer. He's one of those dudes where, like, if you need
So was Tim Tebow.
12 yards.
Hey, Tim Tebow won ball games.
No.
Tim Tebow was a moment.
Yeah, but if you need, like, if
Tim
you need
Tebow or
him to
Bo
scramble,
Nix?
yeah.
Tim Tebow Nix?
Tim Tebow or Bo Nix? Hey,
One's
got a playoff win.
Bo Tebow.
Bo Nix is completing 60.1% of his passes. It's like, okay, not bad.
Okay.
1 touchdown, 4 interceptions, and he's at 4.8 yards per attempt.
That's
Okay,
not great.
yeah.
He
Oh,
stinks,
yeah.
bro.
How many yards rushing does he have?
110. 2 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah. He's at least he's shown an ability to go out and get it. Like when they need him to do something, they need him to go get a first down.
I have a theory.
What was that?
When you say, "What do you think of that player?" and the first thing that gets said is, "It's got that dog in him." That's a thumbs down for me. That's a thumbs down for me. At least in the NFL.
That's
Sometimes
funny.
in the NBA, like that's the first thing. Someone's like, "Hey, what about Keon Ellis?" Like, dude, dog.
Well, we also know Keon Ellis can shoot the 3 ball well or play defense and all that.
Yeah, so it's
Bo
different.
Nix is like, dog, what else?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Just he gets after it. Like, yeah, no doubt. I don't disagree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think it's going to lead to anything because I don't think he's that good of a player.
Yeah.
He's obviously a good player. He's in the NFL. I don't think he's that good of an NFL player.
Makes sense.
That's all.
All right.
Like Caleb Williams. I've seen the flashes with Caleb Williams, right?
You could tell with Caleb Williams.
You could tell with Caleb. Jaden Daniels, obviously.
Ooh, so good.
Just ridiculous. I have a Jaden Daniels stat for you that I'm about to read. Jesse, you can stick around if you want.
All right, I'll stick around.
Jaden Daniels obviously got it. We haven't gotten to see Michael Penix yet. And then there one more rookie starting. Am I missing someone?
No, because Drake May's on the bench right now.
Yeah. All right. I saw my shout out to TSN in Canada and hat tip to my dad for sending this to me. Jaden Daniels this year in 4 starts has 2 games with no punts and no turnovers. Okay. So 2 of his starts, his team has neither punted nor turned the ball over, which means they've scored every time or gone to the end of the half or end of a game. Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, and Patrick Mahomes have 2 such games combined in 1,094 starts.
So what do we do with that? Like, are we just like Jaden Daniels is going to be
He's
good? We're
taking
sold.
over the league, bro.
Like, we don't have to say he's the best quarterback, but we're just like, yep, he's going to be good. I feel like when you're on those lists with those players, usually it works out.
Right. And that's what it's like. At some point, there's the like, well, they're going to get film on him, right?
Mhm.
And they're going to figure this offense out, and they're going to have to make adjustments and what then. And I totally get that. I don't think he's going to complete 82% of his passes for his career or anything. But at some point, you're playing so well that even when teams adjust, you're still going to be playing really well.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel
Like
like,
that-
they're going to have film on this guy next season. That's the most overrated with excuse or whatever, I feel like.
yeah, right. Because defenses adjust and then offenses adjust back. Like
Yeah.
that's the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, watching him in week 1, you're like, oh, he's got it.
Yeah, there
Like,
were
it
the
was like
flashes.
so quick. You're like,
Mhm.
oh my goodness. I mean, he had like 280 yards passing, and he had 88 yards rushing.
Yeah, it was a little frenetic, but it was a guy making his first start, and he was really good.
Yeah, but you're just watching like his understanding of the game is there. His feel for the game is there.
Mhm.
I think he's going to be tremendous. Like the first time I watched him play, I'm like, oh man,
Week one,
they got something.
Week one, he went 70.8% completions, 184 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. But he rushed for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And I was with you. You watched that game and you went, man, this guy gets the position.
Feels like their offense is starting to like get better too as each week goes on.
Yeah. Yeah. As he
He's
settles
found
in
McLaurin.
there. Yeah. Then against the Giants, they sneak out with a win, but he completes 79% of his passes, 226 yards, still no touchdowns, still no interceptions, with 44 rushing yards. Which again, rookie quarterback, you're taking those numbers. First 2 starts. And then Cincinnati was when he broke out on that. Was it Monday night?
Yeah.
21 of 23, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns with 39 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown.
He made so many big time throws that game.
Just
too.
that
putting the Bengals away too at the end.
Ridiculous. And that's where you go, oh, this guy on Monday Night Football is having this awesome game. And every time the Bengals, who have been to a Super Bowl and have this awesome defense with this awesome defensive coordinator, and Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels just keep slamming the door.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Shout out Jaden Daniels.
What a player.
Yeah, for me, really, he's just now starting to find his guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, how do you complete 80% of your passes on the season? But the first 2 weeks of the season, you could barely find Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
I mean, he had 4 targets, 1 game for 2 catches. He had 6 targets, 6 catches, but 8 targets, and then 6 targets and 4 catches, like in the first 3 weeks. And now it's like, he found him. So he's 10 targets last week, 7 catches. I mean, he's got potential to just.
Has he done enough to make you believe that they won the NFC East this year? Dallas, I'm pretty out on Dallas.
Here's the
Eagles.
thing.
The Eagles, I'm like kind of holding on to them still, but it's like I'm so out on Nick Sirianni.
That's it.
Like,
I think they're out on Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, I think that's true too.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just saying, like Jalen Hurts hasn't like really looked. He's not bad. He hasn't looked bad. But he hasn't just looked great or whatever this season. They just haven't looked good, honestly. Like 2-2, but for what they're supposed to be.
The only thing holding me back from saying yes, it's not their offense, it's their defense. It's like, I just don't know if they're going to continue to get stops.
Yeah.
And that would be but like, what have the Cowboys done this year that would make me say like, yeah, hey, the Cowboys are just waiting to break out? Or same thing with the Eagles. Like I feel like they kind of are what they are. And Washington might just be this kind of juggernaut for the first.
You might honestly be able to win that division with 10 wins.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
it's possible. I'd also point out too that Philadelphia, they started the season with the Packers and the Falcons and the Saints and Bucks. All 4 of those are really, really high level passing games.
Yeah, good point.
And then after the bye, they have a bye this week. They go Browns, Giants, Bengals, Jags. I mean, they could easily pick up three wins right there. Just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
So like that team has potential, especially if you run up against other teams that aren't just built to like sort of your biggest weakness.
Check out Washington's schedule coming up. Cleveland, at Baltimore, Carolina, Chicago, at the New York Giants, home Steelers.
Oh my goodness. They could be the team, like 8-2, right?
They could be 9-1 if they win all 6.
Yeah.
But yeah, 8-2, 7-3 going into. Then it's at Philly, home Dallas, home Titans going into their bye week.
You mentioned the Ravens. You see Devontae Adams posting Edgar Allan Poe. How do we feel about that? I feel like that's something maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Would he make it that obvious?
Yeah. Why not? And then you got Ian Rappaport tweeting the little eyes or whatever, quote tweeting it. Kind of adding some legs to it or whatever. Like, what's going on?
We did dramatic readings of the Raven.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. So, well, at least the first, like, I don't know, 4 sentences.
Shout out Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
Really?
I don't know. Like, we learned about him in school. I'll give him a shout out.
Where'd the Edgar? All right, that's the insane stat of the day. Jaden Daniels, quite a player. If I don't know what kind of value you can get on it, but I think looking at their schedule, I think I would bet on Washington to win the division.
That's fair. Like they have a good defense. Dan Quinn's a good coach. I think Jaden Daniels is gonna at least be the rest of the season. Not necessarily top 5 quarterback or top 10 quarterback, but just good enough to win them ball games and all that.
Yeah, there's
if he's this good the rest of the way, he's going to be the MVP.
Yeah.
no, it's straight up.
Not even
That's
close.
yeah.
I think
would totally agree.
I think it's really hard to divorce like great rookie quarterback with Washington from the RG3 thing, because that just went south so quickly.
Yeah.
And that's just what's always in the back of my head when a rookie quarterback just comes out on fire. Justin Herbert with the Chargers. It's like, okay, well, like awesome, but I need to like, if I'm going to project this over the next few, I need to see another year of it before I buy all the way in. But this year I'm in. I think Jaden Daniels is awesome.
Well, the Eagles too. They didn't look good all of last season either.
Who?
The Eagles.
Were they 10-1?
They were 10-1, but
they're a fake ass.
Yeah,
10-1.
so 10-1 was kind of like they're kind of just barely getting by right now, and then it all just fell apart after they lost to the 49ers.
They were a 7-4 ass 10-1 team.
Exactly. They were like the Steelers that 1 year where they got blown out by the Browns in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, what did they start like?
They started 11-0, I think.
11-0?
Yeah.
Man. Well, hey Jesse, thanks so much for popping in.
It was a good time. Happy Friday.
D'Lo and Casey's producer. You can hear him from noon to 4. Thanks, dude.
That's correct. Later, guys.
Appreciate you. There he goes. Jesse Tapia, everybody. Kyle,
what are the standings for Mad Props now?
Oh, the standings, yeah. You are in the lead.
What?
I think
you guys had.
I've got to run the winning percentages because Jesse's 2 weeks behind us.
Okay.
But you're at 13-8-3. I'm 12-9-3. Jesse's 7-4-1.
Okay, so you had a bad week last week.
Yeah, I went 3-3.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I went 3-3, but you went 5-1. You gained 2 games on me.
Yeah.
And then Jesse went 4-2, so he gained 1 on me as well.
Okay.
So we've that's where Mad Prop sits through 4 weeks, heading into week 5. I should publish this document so people can look.
There it is.
Anyways, he's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. Subscribe to the James Ham and Kyle Madsen Show podcast wherever you get your podcast. It is this show in podcast form. We upload each hour and then the whole show. So if you miss anything, you want to revisit anything, or if you just want to help the homies out with their downloads, you can subscribe wherever you get your pods. We would appreciate that immensely. 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. That's the Elk Grove Kia talk line. Jesse brought up Devontae Adams. I would like to put aside the Ravens thing for a second. Nothing makes an NFL fan more irrational than a wide receiver who's available.
Yeah.
Whether it's in free agency or whether it's in trade. It would cost the 49ers quite a bit. Forget the financials of it. I'm going to put aside the salary cap stuff. The draft capital it would take to acquire Devontae Adams from the Raiders. Devontae Adams, a great player. Yes. Is he still really good? Yes. Is he going to the Hall of Fame someday? Yes. Is having more good players a good thing? Yes. But the draft capital that the 49ers would spend to acquire Devontae Adams would be so much better spent helping out their offensive line or their defensive line or their safety room or helping out at linebacker. They could probably, with the draft capital that they would use to get Devontae Adams. And keep in mind, their offense is not a problem this year.
No.
I've not watched the Niners and gone, man, you know what they need? They need another receiver.
Are we talking like a third and a fourth? Or are we talking a second and a third?
I'm guessing it's going to be a second and other stuff.
Okay.
Depending on how the bidding goes, I think it's probably going to be like a second and maybe a future second or a future third. It's going to be a lot and deservedly so. But it's just, watching the Niners this year and the Aiyuk thing, Aiyuk for Adams, take it off the table. The Aiyuk conversation has so jumped the shark. Has he had a slow start after making a stink about getting 30? Yes. He made his contract a deal, or he made this whole thing, made it harder than he needed to, et cetera, et cetera. It's 4 games.
Yeah.
They have him for 5 more years.
I think he's really, really struggling with the pressure that comes with getting that big contract and with sitting out and
I don't even think it's that.
I think he'll be absolutely fine.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, he might only have 1,000 yards this season when it's all said and done. Like, he might be 900 yards, 1,000 yards, and people are going to freak out. But in the long run, he'll be perfectly fine.
I don't, hang on one second. Hey, you're good. Don't worry about it. We're good. We're all set. We're talking about Devontae Adams and the 49ers. Your shirt is sick, by the way.
Yeah, that's
okay.
nice.
Yeah. No, hang out. We're good.
All right.
We're talking about Devontae Adams and the 49ers and how it doesn't seem like a wide receiver is the thing the 49ers should probably be going to acquire. And then we got into talking about Brandon Aiyuk because the conversation about Brandon Aiyuk has jumped the shark entirely. We're acting like the guy sucks at football now. When he first started missing camp, the conversation was, hey, if he misses camp, like he might get off to a slow start.
Yeah.
Like James
it's happening.
James brought it up. He's like, Debo got off to his and Nick Bosa. And that was like early in camp.
Mm-hmm.
He missed all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course he's getting off to a slow start. Everybody knew this was going to happen. And now people want to trade him and eat $70 million in dead cap.
Nope.
No chance.
Yeah, no, there's no need for that.
It's crazy.
There's absolutely no need for that. But it's also kind of like people were waiting to pounce. Like, oh, held out, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, slow start, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people, I mean, when this happens, people they're ready to react.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Put a target on your back.
Yeah, it's like I mean, and the fact is, he could have signed in February and gotten off to a slow start.
Yes,
he could have.
Yeah.
Now it's a convenient excuse, and then when he's saying things like, "Oh, you know, about 85% of myself," and Kyle's like, "No, that's not what he meant." No,
he's like,
no, he meant what he meant was he's playing about 85% of what he'll be playing. Like he's trying to cover that up.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course you've got the situation with Trent Williams where Trent's like, yeah, this kind of sucks. I've never done this before. I've never missed camp before and just gone in there and just started playing football. It's really difficult.
Yeah.
So Trent, the veteran, the first ballot Hall of Famer, maybe the best lineman in the game. It's like, yeah, this is really difficult.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Brandon Aiyuk is, trying to navigate all of these, excuses and all of these different things. And it's like, he's not going to get the same leeway a first ballot Hall of Famer is.
Right.
The idea that the 49ers need to dump him or trade him for Devontae Adams or eat $70 million in dead cap or whatever, it's silly. But him and Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan need to find a way to that 38-yard pass that he got last week. I was like, okay, all right, I think this is it. And then I think he got one more target, one more catch, and that was it.
Well, I think there's something else people are missing too. It's the draw that is Christian McCaffrey and what he does to opposing defenses in the passing game that draws so much attention to him. And you just don't have that. Like, I love what Mason's doing. I think Mason's playing out of his mind and he's starting to catch the ball out of the backfield, but it's almost like Keon Ellis shooting a three. No one really cares if Keon Ellis is shooting a three until he hits 8 of them. And you're like, oh, we probably should guard that kid.
Yeah.
Where Kevin Huerter, the whole game, you're like, oh, man, is somebody chase Kevin? He's going to shoot a three. And it's like, hey, one shooting 36%, the other one shooting 42. But it's the idea of the player. And that's where Mason coming out of the backfield, I was like, okay, whatever. If he burns us for 20 yards, okay, we got to see him catch it like 3 times before we're going to really game plan for him at all. Where McCaffrey, all the focus is there, and then it just opens up everything else for the rest of the team. And you're forgetting just how big of a weapon he is and how Mason is sort of limited in who he is so far. As a runner, I might even take Mason right now over McCaffrey as just a pure runner, but it's the threat of the passing game with McCaffrey that changes. Yeah. And so I think it's tough for these guys.
Yeah, it's adjusting. It's adjusting to how defenses are playing you. And I think Scooter in the chatty house said the Brandon Aiyuk breakout's coming this week. I totally agree. I think this is the week. What do you guys got coming up?
I'm with it, man. We got a lot. Chris Haynes is going to be with us.
Oh.
Mark Orr, athletic director for Sac State, is going to be with us.
Oh.
Of course, you're with us.
Yep.
James is with us. Eddie Gonzalez is with us. So it's
my God.
Yeah, it's a far busier Friday than normal.
Great.
Nice.
Can't wait. D-Lo and KC coming up next. James and I done until we're on with D-Lo and KC.
Yeah.
The Insider's done for the week. We'll see you on Monday, 10 a.m. Until then, drink water and be nice, people. Boo! See you, chatty house. Appreciate y'all.
Bye, guys.
Have a good